Hello and welcome to another video. My name's Philip and I'm a furniture maker and videographer, and today we're going to look at this video that I recently made. So yeah, a cool little cinematic edit with a match cut at the start, some like cool cinematic shots towards the end of the edit, which this sort of video does quite well on short form platforms. I posted it like 3 days ago and we're almost at 100,000 views with 7,000 likes. So yeah, this one will be one of my better performing videos. Every time I do like one of these sort of cinematic edits, they usually do quite well. So I thought it might be interesting to break it down, take you through the timeline, show you the techniques I used, show you my decisions, talk a bit about why I made certain decisions or why I used certain clips over other clips. So yeah, this is going to be a bit of a different video to my usual videos. It's not going to be as polished. It's going to be a very much off the cuff, like off the top of me head. But that's probably the best way of me communicating my thought processes on how I make these sort of videos, rather than it being really polished. So yeah, let's just get straight into it. So start off with this beautiful match cut, in my opinion. This is my best match cut I've done so far. I've tried it quite a few times, and this one really turned out quite well. Getting a good match cut all comes down to your setup, really. The more time you spend on your setup and get that perfect, the less work you have to do in your edit. So for this match cut, how I've set it up, I've got a tripod with a cool extendable boom arm that goes over my desk. And on the desk, I've got this fabric. Fabrics are great if you're doing these sort of top-down table shots to make them just a bit more interesting, introducing textures, because the way light interacts with textures and reflects off them is a bit different to just like a flat matte or shiny surface. So yeah, use textures if you can. I love to use textures. It's just a great way of like adding a bit of character to the image. And then I've shined a light across the table, and actually this video was made for a brand. So I do have a spotlight which I can shape the light, but I ended up using one of their lights. It's like this small 60-watt light, really useful. But I attached a bit of cardboard where I'd cut out a slit in the end of it, and I used that to shape the light to make the light ray effect that you can see here. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And I've lowered that down at an angle so it's shining across the tabletop rather than top down. If you go across, it means that we get these sort of shadows that you can see. Let me move. Yeah, you can see on Lightning McQueen here, we've got a shadow here. Whereas if it was top down, creating that effect, you wouldn't see any of that shadow. So I'm shooting on a Sony a6700. I'm shooting 4K 10-bit S-Log3 S-Gamma Cine, and I'm overexposing to the right to about 1.7 on the light meter. That's just because if you don't know, S-Log, if you overexpose it, it gives you a less noisy image because the highlights are retained better than the shadows. And yeah, manual focus, locked white balance, because you don't want anything, basically, the fundamental of a match cut or a match cut like this is you don't want the camera position or any of the scene around it to change. As soon as you knock your camera, or you change, like you knock something on the table and it moves, or I knock the light and that moves position, it's over. Like you have to restart. The match cut won't look very good anymore, because the whole reason why a match cut works is because everything looks the same and there's only one element in your match cut which is changing. So then I just like to hit record, because then I don't have to touch my camera again. And that's how we get these individual images. And it's as simple as dragging the clip into your timeline, cutting around. I'll show you here. Cutting around. Be great if I activated them. So I actually rendered these clips out because they were lagging my computer. So that's why I've deactivated the ones at the top. So it's as simple as cutting around individual tools. So I've placed them on the table, removed my hands away, let it capture a few seconds video, and then cycled through this one. I got clever and I thought, oh, I'll open them, and that'll be quite a cool match cut, which it turned out pretty cool. If you see there, we go from close to open. And yeah, really, it's as simple as that. To make this even better, what I've done is I've gone and slapped an adjustment clip on top with an automated zoom over the top. So it slowly pans in. So you can see there's the slow zoom. Whereas without it, it's static. It's a bit dead. Like the match cut is still really cool, but when we just add this little slow zoom, just feels a bit better. You just elevate the feel of the edit. It feels like a bit more polished, a bit more intentional, a bit more professional. Also like sucks you in as well. So yeah, quick tip. If you ever found yourself automating the zooms on each clip individually, I used to do that. Just get yourself an adjustment clip, put the zoom on the adjustment clip, drag your adjustment clip to the length of all the clips you want to zoom over. That was a mouthful. And that will save you so much time, because I used to, or I've seen other people do it, where they automate the zoom on each individual clip so you get that slow zoom in. Also, get into the habit of saving these adjustment clip zooms as presets. So in DaVinci, what you can do is you can save them to a power bin just by, once you've created it, drag it, put it in. So there's power bins here, and I've created a new folder called zooms and just drag them in. And what I've done, I've actually complete numpty. I've ended up deleting them all somehow, so I'm gonna have to remake them. But I made like six or seven different types of zoom that I use frequently, so I can just drag them from any project in DaVinci onto my timeline, and bam, I've already got my keyframes with the easing in and out, all the shapes, all done for me. And yeah, saves so much time, especially those if you do a lot of talking head videos. Having that slow zoom in to when at the end of your sentence, when you're about to say like the impactful thing, or it's just the end of the sentence, you then do that quick zoom out, just makes your video that bit more engaging. It's often like the final finishing touches to put on a video that just takes it to that next level. I often find once I'm getting to the end of my edit and I feel like there's something missing, it's because I haven't added the zooms. Once I've gone back and added the zooms, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, this feels good, it feels right, it feels finished. You can also use it too much. If it's too in your face, I know there's a certain edit style where you can do like in your face zooms, but for cinematic stuff, for cinematic visuals, it's all about subtlety, really. You can go a bit crazy with edits, but the best cinematic videos are often the ones with the simple cuts. The cuts that are placed in the perfect positions where you don't notice them and you don't need any like flashy visual effects to hide them. Right, so that's the intro, or half of the intro. And then we move on to, we fade into this like almost stop frame animation section, like that. And what I've done here is I have had to use an effect to hide the cut here. So what I've got is I go from the match cut to the same position of the camera, but we're going from something in the center of the frame to something not in the center of the frame. And this is where the paper is rolling in and gets unfolded. So this is a bit jarring. If you look, like the cut isn't as natural as like this one. Like that one's perfect. The background stays the same, it's all the same color, but this one, we're changing scene a bit. So what I've done is I've put this flash over the top, like this, and that sort of smooths out that cut. It's no longer jarring, it actually feels intentional, and especially because with the sound, which I'll talk a bit more about sound a bit later in the video, but the sound is like 80% of what makes the edit actually work. The sound design will make all your cuts often feel like they are placed in the right positions, make them feel intentional. But here, what I've done is I've put this little flash. Right, how did I make this flash? This flash is made up of grain to just add a bit of grit, sort of like some glue to the whole transition. And then we've just got these solid color clips in DaVinci. It's like the same as having like a white picture on top. So these are two solid color clips and they are both white. So if I turn off the blend modes on these, it's just basically a white image, and we put the composite mode difference, so that blends it with the layers below, and then I've also faded them in, so it's not so like making you have a fit. So it's a bit more gradual. And so yeah, we've got one with difference and we've got one with color, because without the color one, it was a bit blue. And I just wanted to take that out of the image, really. And like a great way to hide those sort of transitions, especially with the sound, it makes it feel smooth and nice. And it's a bit of like, oh, hey, we're sort of moving to something slightly different here. Now let's talk about how I did this second half of the match cut. So I love to do stuff like this. I've been playing around with it, but with like animating things by almost looking like stop motion. So how did I do this paper animation? So this is all done with my hands. I printed out a piece of paper, that says I make things. I cut around it, stuck it on the table, and then to get that whole folding open, like it opens up, unfolds itself, well, it jumps into screen and unfolds itself, I've actually filmed it in reverse. Put the paper down, and then frame by frame, I am folding it up. So I'm folding a bit up, moving my hands away, folding a bit up, moving my hands away, until it's a little ball, and then you can see I'm just moving it like bit by bit off the screen, like this, like that. So it actually moves like 3 times. So yeah, very simple. Just film that in reverse, cut it up into individual clips, and there you go. So now we've gone from unfolding to now we're back to another like match cut. And let's show you what's going on here. So this is quite simple, very simple match cut you can do with books, but the best way to make sure these work out properly is drag yourself a grid line. You can do that from the side of the inspector window, and then just make sure that the book is centered for each frame. So you can see center, center, and then here we've gone for the same sort of symmetry. I found a photo where there's like a drawing on each side, and I've just centered it up, so that sort of keeps the match cut going, makes it feel like intentional, makes it feel right. And then we've just zoomed in, and then on top of this I've taken the stop frame animation and I've cut around it, put a mask around it, and then we're just animating it. We're just reducing the size of it, so we've gone from 1 to 0.9 to 0.7 to 0.5 to 0.3, and then on this last one it just goes from 0.1 to 0 as it like blinks out, and we put blend mode darken on there so it looks like it just blinks away, and that's just cool because without this, like, it's cool, but it makes the like bit where the I make things come onto screen feel like separate from the rest of the edit. It doesn't, but by animating it out like this makes it feel a bit more intentional, a bit more cohesive. So that's why I've done that. Yeah, to cut it out, all I've done is I've taken it into Fusion, taken the clip into Fusion, and I've used Magic Mask to cut it out, where I've just put 2 points on it, tracked it back and forwards. This is what it looks like without. So Magic Mask has just cut it out. If you don't have the pro version of DaVinci, use the polygon mask. For something like this, it would be so quick to use polygon mask because it's not actually moving. Yeah. And then that gives you this, which means there's no background behind it, and you can just do what you like with it and have it as an animated layer. Okay, so what have we layered on top? We've got some more flashes, exact same flashes, same here as well. This one looks like it's an X-ray, which is pretty cool. Let me get rid of this. Oh, I should have talked about this earlier. But so with the match cut, it is super important that once you've got it programmed in terms of the visuals, you've got to add sound, because without sound, a match cut just falls so flat. Sound is like what actually sells the effect really well, and it's like 80% of what makes a good match cut is the sound. And the best thing about it is it's super easy to do sound for match cuts, because it's just lots of like quick frames. So when you think about quick frames, think about, okay, what does that sound like? It's like a quick shutter on the camera, maybe some mechanical clicking sounds. So that's what I've done. That's all I've done is I've found a mechanical gear sound actually and stuck that underneath. And without it, it just falls flat, and with it, you feel like it's really intentional. You feel like maybe it's a projector going, and it just really sells the effect. And then when we get to the paper, I've added a paper like scrunching sound effect as well, because like without it, it just feels fake. But as soon as you add like that paper sound, it just feels like it's intentional. It feels like by adding the sounds, it sells the visuals, and it makes them feel like intentional, like they're actually happening, or makes them just feel more real. And then we're on to basically the second half of the edit. This edit is like in 2 parts. There's like a highly edited part of the match cut, which is cool, and then it slows down and we're more into this sort of cinematic feel and cinematic end to the edit. So yeah, let's talk about that. So these images, a lot slower, a lot more thought out. definitely more intentional when your footage or clips are on screen for longer. They've got to be chosen intentionally. Whereas when you've got flash edits, sometimes you can get away with, actually a lot of the time you can get away with, because it happens so quickly. It's more about the feeling of like the sequence that you make rather than the actual images themselves. Because people will use like random flashes and whip pans of their camera because it's got like this cool like, but it could be of nothing, but that works because it happens so quickly and it's more like of a feeling. But now we're in the slower part of the edit. It's got to be a bit more intentional. There's got to be some form of, especially with cinematic videos, there's got to be some form of story being told, attention to shot composition and lighting and movement happening in all the shots to really keep someone interested and engaged. So what have we got? We have got paint. So this shot is interesting for several reasons. There's movement, there's paint, satisfying, and the lighting and contrast is good. So the first thing I will tell someone if they want to shoot cinematic shots or want to shoot more in a cinematic way is I'll tell them you need to shoot on the shadow side. You need to be actively thinking about where your light is coming from, and you need to position your camera on the shadow side. Because if you position your camera with like your back towards the light, and you're shooting in the direction that the light is like hitting, then you get a very flat image. Everything is like lit exactly uniformly the same. It's like having top-down lighting. That's ugly lighting. Whereas if you move your camera round to the shadow side, then what you see is you get shadows and then you get light behind it, and you get this immediate depth and contrast in the image. So that is like the #1 rule of improving your shots, turning them from flat and maybe boring to adding more depth and making them more cinematic. Shoot on the shadow side. Okay, that was a lot of waffle, but I think you get what I mean. And I've chosen this paint clip. I think it's quite a cool clip to land on after the fast cuts, because you go from quick to slow. And paint coming out can almost feel slow motion. And to accentuate that, I've used sound. So I've used these two hits here, these two whooshes. So you can just sort of hear it goes, and then that sort of sucks you out of the fast, and you're a bit more slow now, along with the paint. And I've also added, this slime effect, because I thought the paint needed some form of sound, and when you search for like paint sounds, what you get is like paint roller or paint brush, which is not the same for like pouring. So I thought, okay, we need to think of something a bit more viscous, maybe like oil pouring. Couldn't find anything like that. I ended up finding some slime sound effects, and I thought, that could work. So what I ended up doing is just pulling them really far down in the mix so you can't hear it, almost can't hear it, but it is still there. It's like a bit of just ear candy in there. And this shot, which is just me in the workshop sanding, this shot is more for context. It's not that complex of a shot. It's quite basic, actually. I've just pointed the camera at me doing some work. It's like a 40mm on my lens. So you've got that nice compression in the image. And it is, the way I've lit this shot is, so there's no like direct sunlight. So it was quite an overcast day. So there's lots of soft lighting. But what I've done is I've created a book light. So I've shone my spotlight at a white reflector that's off to the left of this frame. And you can see that I've got some like light shining on my back. And I've used that to bring up basically the shadows in the image so you can see more what's going on. And in a way, it looks like there's some window on the left of me, but actually it's just a really dark workshop. So I've used that to help light the scene, and you've got this soft lighting. And the main reason why I've used this clip is because it's more for context. It's showing someone in a workshop working on some wood with maybe some furniture in the background. It's just adding context to this whole story, because this final part of the edit is more of a story. It's showing me making something. So we start off with the paint. That's a satisfying shot to start off with, but it could be anything. So the second shot is adding context. Now you can see there's someone in a workshop, we're building something. All these clips have little slow zooms on them as well, just to add that like dynamic energy to it. And they've all got little flashes between them to like, I don't know, I was going for this like old vintage TV sort of projector vibe. All with like accompanying clicks with them and little like transition fuzzes. And I've made sure to switch it up. If I used the click all the time for the transitions, it would feel very the same. It would feel very repetitive. It might get a bit boring. So what you can do is you can either take that, if you've only got one click, pitch it up and pitch it down between the clicks. That will make it different, make it feel less boring, less the same. Or what I've done is I've just swapped it out for different noises. So for here, between this clip and this clip, I've used like a fuzzy white noise sound, and I've matched that with the flash effect. So I've used 2 quick flashes because with the fuzz, there's a bit more like, I think you know what I mean. And then we're on to me showing a bit of wood. That sounded wrong. We're on to me showing part of the frame that I'm building. So we've gone from working on the frame, bit of context, the workshop, and now we're zooming in to the thing that I'm actually working on, so you can actually see in detail what I'm building. Obviously you can't see the whole thing, but you can see wood and its corner, it's a miter join. There's some really nice soft lighting here at the top. You see a bit of sheen from where I've oiled it. And this shot is just quite nice because it's symmetrical, and all I've done there is zoomed in on a different shot. I've zoomed in on quite a wide shot, which this shot looks nice as well, but I think it looked better and I wanted to get a close-up of the joint, so yeah. And then another flash, and then we're on to this shot, which is my favorite. I love shots like these. When I get light coming through these blinds behind me, sunlight, my room looks awesome, and I'm always like trying to capture things with this sunlight because it looks so cool. Yeah, and I don't have much time because often it's quite cloudy. I live in the UK, very cloudy, always grey. So yeah, when I get these shots, it feels awesome. So yeah, this is just some nice lighting. You've got a IKEA lamp in the background, adding a bit of like a warmth, depth to the image. The only thing with this shot, I would say, is if you're only shooting with sunlight, be careful with your position of the camera, because if I positioned it so it's facing the windows, there's so much direct light that then if I expose so you can actually see where my hands are, the windows will be all blown out and just completely white. It'll be basically useless footage because it will just be white blown out window. And then if I exposed for the windows so that you can actually see what's outside of them and it's not blown out, then you wouldn't be able to see anything that's going on with my hands. That would be way too dark. So I've moved my camera around so it's not actually facing the window, and so the light is coming from the side, and that just gives more of a balanced image. You can actually see what I'm doing with my hands. And if I had more time, if the sun would stay the same, I'd set up some form of reflector inside to bring up the shadows inside the room. You can probably tell I love natural lighting. I absolutely love it. Most of my shots I'll be trying to play around with some form of textured light, trying to get some cool shapes in there. I just think it's so cool to look at, and I think it's a very easy way of improving your visuals to make them go from maybe something that's quite flat to, if you start paying attention where your light's coming from, where you're positioning your camera, the time of day that you're shooting at, it's a very easy way to take your footage from being flat and like basic to having that sort of cinematic feel to it. And the best thing about this is you don't need like a professional camera to do that. If you shoot on an iPhone, if you're paying attention to the direction of the light, where it's coming from, the sort of shadows it's casting, and where you position your phone, you can get these same looking images. And turn off your main lights. They will kill any form of like cinematic lighting or imaging, because you've got this really harsh light coming directly down. There's no shadows. It's all flat. Turn them off. Okay. And then we've got some flashes. These flashes are a bit different because I thought there was maybe too many flashes going on in this edit. Too many white flashes going on in this edit. So I've just taken the clip that we're transitioning to and I've flashed it a couple times with the color composite mode. Maybe I was running out of ideas and just wanted to wrap up this edit, to be honest. And yeah, okay, now we're on to the last two shots. We've got this really cool panning up moving shot showing off the finished piece. And the way I did that is with my DJI gimbal. I've got it here. So this is the RS Mini 4. Great little gimbal. And the thing I use it for most, because I'm a solo shooter, is using its automated like waypoint feature where you can program like movements with if you connect it to the app on your phone. So what I did for this is I set 2 waypoints, one down at the bottom of the picture frame, one with it pointing up, and then you hit record and you get this really nice slow pan up. So yeah, gimbal as a solo shooter, when you program in waypoints, is a great way to add movement to your shots, because yeah, otherwise most of our shots are either handheld, or if we want to be in frame, they've got to be locked off on a tripod, and we've got to rely on the actual movement inside the frame to hold interest, really. Okay, and then we've just got one final flash, and you get the payoff at the end. You see what I've been making. It's this cool shot of the car, which glowing around the edges. Yeah, I thought it was a perfect shot to finish on. If I was going to critique my video, I should have put a slow zoom on this last bit, especially with the rising sound effect of like the camera flash about to go off, like this one. It would have been perfect to have a little zoom on that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. The reason why I added that little sound effect at the end is when we loop back round, it sounds like a camera shutter goes off. So I'm thinking about continuity of this edit. We start off with a match cut and lots of shutter clicks, and then we're at the end, we've slowed down. But because it's for short form, the video wants to loop. And if you get into the habit of trying to make, not all your videos will loop, but if you can make some videos loop, that can be a sort of a good way to make someone end up watching the video again without them even knowing, or it's just, it feels nice, so they might end up watching it again. So just paying like a little bit of attention to how your videos end and start can go a long way. So yeah, we got that, and then so yeah, sound design for these. Oh yeah, I forgot to talk about that. So what we've done is we've gone from match cut, and then we transitioned into slowing down, and then I've chucked some birds in there. Why? Why? Okay, I'll tell you why. Ambient sounds, nature sounds, room sounds, they are so important, I think, to giving like this atmosphere and character to a video, because without them, if I take these bird sounds out, listen to this, and I'll take the music out as well, because the music also contributes to the atmosphere of the video. If I take them out, this is what it sounds like. There's just these like silences between the sound effects that it feels very like digital. It doesn't feel very natural. But as soon as you add in like sounds like these birds chirping, it sort of acts as glue in the silences and brings all these sounds together. So yeah, that's why I've added the birds. Because then you can maybe picture in this shot that one of the windows open, the sun's shining, there's birds chirping outside. I've done it with dogs as well, barking, especially if it's like nighttime. Do that, that's really cool. It really just adds something. It adds character. Right, last bit I'm going to talk about is the color. A lot of you have been asking how I grade my videos. Sorry, this is not a color grading video. That needs quite a long video, but let's quickly talk about it. So for this video, what I've got is I'm using my LUT, my Filmlet LUT, which if you're interested in, if you like the visuals in this video, you can pick it up. It'll be in the link in the description down below. But so this is how I use this LUT. So I have an exposure node, I have my LUT, and then I have some film effects. So this LUT is designed to give you film-like colors, but still give you a clean image. I designed the LUT like this because it allows you to use the LUT in like two ways. I can use it for videos where I need a clean output, especially if it's for brands or it's a spec video, and it doesn't need to be overly stylized. So it gives you a clean output, but the colors still look great. They pop, and everyone's just like, oh, okay, this looks professional. But then you can also use the LUT as a foundation to create a film look. And this is how I use my LUT to create a film look. I've got my exposure, I've got the LUT, and then all I do is I add a blur layer, which is from the film damage effect. And then you've just got this film blur here. And then we've got grain, and we've got another grain. So we've got two grains. I love grain, especially for this edit. I was really trying to make it like analog, old school, almost like it was on an old TV with static and all that. So that's why I've added 2 layers of grain. I've actually added a 3rd layer of grain, which I'll talk about in just a tiny bit. And so what I do is I go in, adjust my exposure. So first thing I've done is I've corrected my white balance, because even though I manually set it, I fucked it. I don't know what I was doing, but somehow it came out really orange. But luckily, because I'm shooting in log, I can correct it. I have the freedom to correct it. So let's pull it across. Add a bit more green into it. I like having green in my image. And then all I've done is I pull the shadows down, because I just want to accentuate this light ray that's going across. So yeah, pull the shadows down. You get this nice contrast in your image. And then Then I've just stuck the LUT on top, which gives you the film-like colors. And then I've got blur because I'm trying to like muddy up the image, and then 2 layers of grain. And that's pretty much it. I've not touched anything else, not done anything else. And then the final thing to sort of tie the whole thing together, because the clips are graded, but the text effects and the flashes and the text animation bits, they're not graded, so they don't have that grain built in. So what I've then done is used a grain overlay, which I'll link to in the video description. I've used a grain overlay to sort of glue the whole thing together, because grain is a great tool, especially if you're going down this more like film look style and aesthetic. Grain is a great way to just glue different elements together. So if I turn off this grain here and we look at, we'll turn off this effect, we'll look at this. So this is like that overlaid image on top of the car, and it doesn't blend very well together. So it just needs a little bit of help by this grain layer, and that just softens up the edges a bit, just helps like glue the whole image together. So yeah, that's pretty much it really for this edit. Let me know in the comments if you want to see more of these informal video breakdowns. I'll obviously be posting my usual polished cinematic videos, but I thought this could be a cool thing to do, especially since a lot of you have been asking about my process and how I go about making videos. Please subscribe. And if you want to pick up my LUT, it'll be in the description down below. That's one of the best ways if you want to support me. All right, that's it. Thanks. Bye.